I'm Dave Dinkle, and this is a deal talk. It's a student's first deal. Typically, I never put a date because the content should be timeless. However, the date of this first deal is August 2021. And the reason I'm doing this, there seems to be a constant roar out there. There's no deals. I can't find any. What am I doing wrong? So what we're going to look at is a very recent deal, depending on how soon after I made this video you look at it. It's a student's first deal with a net profit of $129,726.40. I'm going to talk about how he got it and what it's all about. The other thing to mention quickly, no earnest money deposit and no money in the transaction. But before I start that, I have another little series. I can't believe this just happened. So today I got a phone call from an investor who is not a student, but he's been an investor since 2007, he informed me, and you'll see why in a minute because he was coming back when I said something. I try and help people. When I do transactional fundings for them, I get involved in the sense that I put up 100% of the money for the A to B closing, get paid back on the B to C closing, and everyone's a winner. But very oftentimes, new investors come to me with their double closings and they have no clue how it works. They've watched videos, they maybe even have a mentor, and I help them along by saying if you get stuck at a roadblock, ask me first before you say something or do something that's going to kill the deal. If I'm able to fund it and close it, everyone's a winner. If you mess it up, everyone's a loser. So this investor came to me and he said, I got a property under contract for $75,000, and he asked me what I thought and went on to explain he sold it for $99,000. This is a very, very typical response or email that I get every once in a while from an investor. Here's the address, here's what I can pay for it, what do you think? They're somewhat annoying because you should be able to make your decision. The biggest decision to make is get it under contract and then make the decision about what do you think it's worth. Because if you don't have it under contract, somebody else is going to do that for you in their name. So I looked at the property. He went on into great detail about the estimated rehab cost down to $1,000. And he had used this software, which is pretty elaborate. I don't know if he paid for it or it's part of his mentoring class that he has with somebody. But he also got his contractor's estimate of repair, which is almost identical. So you would say to yourself, man, if I'm going to rehab that property, I know pretty much exactly what it's going to cost. However, when somebody says to me, what do you think about that? My answer is, how do you know what your cost to carry the property is going to be? Because it's going to be a hard money loan. How many months do you think it'll take? Well, it shouldn't take more than 30 days. 7 months later, when you haven't sold the property and you're being eaten alive by interest on your hard money loans and you can't sell it because you can't find a buyer or code enforcement found a problem and you can't sell it until you fix some major damage that you weren't aware of, typically structural. How much did it cost? It didn't cost the estimated repair that the software generated, and typically that's why rehabbers lose money, which nobody talks about. Everybody talks about the flip and flop shows and how much money they made and so on and so forth. They don't talk about how long it takes to get a permit. What you see on TV is they go in and they start demoing the property. Well, you got to get a demo permit. In some places, permits to install a new kitchen, put on a new roof can take months. If you're borrowing hard money, that cost can be treacherous, I'm going to say. So I expressed my opinion that I didn't like to see investors putting their estimates of rehab cost into their sales literature because of the liability issue. In certain parts of the country, it's very common for wholesalers to put in the after repaired value, and typically they're all over the place. They may not be in the same state in some cases, so the people that look at them have to understand that, and they probably do. But in those areas, sometimes they put in the estimated rehab cost. Now they could even put a disclaimer at the bottom that says, if you don't do the work right and you don't do it timely, these could be a lot more. But what I have seen is a rehabber comes in who doesn't know what he's doing. He looks at a $66,000 rehab estimate, starts the rehab, finds some issue that the seller didn't know about, like a structural issue, semi-sinkhole or something, or he just does the rehab poorly and they go way over budget. He winds up losing money. Who does he blame? Not himself, not the contractor who didn't show up for a month or two. He blames the seller. He blames the investor who sold it to him and told him in writing, black and white, $66,000 rehab. So what does he do? He goes to his attorney and says, I've lost $66,000, not made money. And the after repaired value that he told me about was $50,000 less. Why? Because he did a crappy rehab, or the estimate of after repaired value was way too high. So what does he do? He sues. Now, the thing that people have to understand is anybody can sue anybody for any reason. Doesn't have to be valid. As an investor selling a property that's as is, where is, sounds like, okay, you got what comes with it. It's not necessarily true. First of all, if you defrauded the buyer by not telling him about an issue you knew about, you have a problem. But the buyer can still sue you because he wants to. And he has an attorney who's willing to take a $5,000 retainer to do it. So let's say you're right. You win the case. Do you think you win the case and your attorney's fees back just because you won? You may not be able to recover them. I then said to him that his sales price was too low because I agreed with his after repaired value of $250,000. And he was like startled. Now, I have to say to you that I love this guy, and I've been working with him for a couple of years. He listens to me sometimes, but he also gets a lot of other people's opinion. And when you do that, when you go around to people that, are pipe fitters, I'm not picking on pipe fitters, they're hairdressers, not picking on hairdressers, but it seems like the last person you talk to that doesn't know what they're talking about, but he or she agrees with you, reinforces that problem you have, what you're saying or what you're believing. So his answer to me about my objection to his price being too low was, I don't see how anyone would pay more than $99,000 for it. Now, it just happens to be that literally, the example I'm going to show you, the student purchased it for $75,000, and I'm going to show you what he sold it for. Because his after repaired value to the person he sold it to was not $250, it was about $275 to maybe $290. But the only difference is the area. The student was in an area where the homes were more upscale. In this area that this particular non-student came to me with, he was in a more rural area. But here's what bothered me. His answer, I don't see how anyone else can pay more than $99,000 for it, was the worst answer he could have given me. It enrages me. Should I be concerned? No. He was extremely happy making $24,000 less closing cost. What I'm saying to you, because you don't understand how something could happen to someone else, because it's not in your realm of belief, doesn't mean it can't happen. One of the best things that happens to new students who have no experience and no money is they have an open mind. You're going to see exactly what happens when you have an open mind rather than when you have experience. And I'm not saying you know it all. I'm saying that you have something in your mind that you believe, and you're going to come up with reasons to enforce why you did it. It comes down to a very simple saying. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? In this case, with this non-student, he would rather be right than happy. And he has excuses to reinforce his thought pattern. There's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact you're not going to get rich if you believe that somebody else won't pay more than what you think they should or can pay for it. So here, if you've been with me before, what I do is I take the A to B and B to C HUDs. These are real. If anybody says to you, this is hocus pocus or something, I have the full HUDs. All I've done is blocked out the players. Typically, I also take out the dates. You're going to see in this case, I didn't even take those out. I want you to see this is real and recent. And before I start on the A to B HUD, I want to mention this thing about there's no deals out there. It's somewhat annoying to me because as I do transactional funding, and here we are in August of 2021. 2020 was a banner year. I did a lot of deals. 2019 was a banner year. I did a lot of deals. So a lot of deals in 2019, a lot of deals in 2020. What do you think's happened so far since January 1st of this year to August? I've done more closings in this 8 months than I did in the past previous 2 years. So when you're saying to me, I can't get deals, I can't find deals, there's no spread in the deals, it's not the market's fault. You're not doing it right. You're not doing enough of it, or whatever's happening, you're not doing it right. I'm frustrated because on one hand, I deal with students all day long, all week long, who are doing deals daily. And there's no reason you can't if you do them right. So here's what I'm going to show you. I never do the dates. I'm doing them now so you can see a real date, real August, happened August 11th. Now, I also show you August 11th because I want to bring up something. This is the A to B top half of the HUD. Not much to show you here except, lo and behold, there's the purchase price by my student on this deal versus the experienced non-student on his deal, same purchase price. This is the bottom half of the A to B HUD. First thing that comes up, the funding. I funded the property. I put in $74,281 even. So there's no money in the transaction. Oh, Dave, what about the earnest money deposit? There is none. I show you ways to do deals with no earnest money deposits. And what is the feedback? I can't do deals because I don't have the earnest money deposits. Do you loan earnest money deposits? No. No one in the industry loans earnest money deposit. And when a new investor calls me and says, I was told I can do deals with no earnest money deposit because I'm going to assign the contract. And now they're asking me for an earnest money deposit. Yes, the guys who are telling you don't need any money, don't need an earnest money deposit, forgot to tell you that there are ways to do it with no earnest money deposit, but they either don't know how or they just didn't bother to tell you because they're selling you something in effect. Now you can do it. I just showed you it can be done, and I've told you in other videos of mine there's actually 3 ways to do it. But let's look at the date. Again, I'm reinforcing a date. This is a prorated interest from the beginning of the year, the 1st of January to the 11th of August. And by the way, this is a cash out deal. 13 cents goes to the investor student of mine. Left side of the HUD's the buyer side, right side is the seller side. On an ALTA statement, it's reversed. Why does he get 13 cents back? I don't even know if they gave him 13 cents. I didn't ask him. Why is it 13 cents, Dave? Because what happens, I got a note and a mortgage on the property for this amount. As the amount changes, you have recording fees that change, doc stamps that change. I pay for all that. So ultimately you have to overprice the amount that I'm giving him in a loan so that in fact he gets money back at closing. Why didn't I give him $1,000 back? He didn't need $1,000. He didn't need 13 cents. Bear with me on this thing and I'll bring you through the whole transaction so you get it. We have the top half of the B2C HUD. What's important here? The first most important thing, the date. Remember I said to you it was August 11th? Whoa, what's this, Dave? It's August 26th. This isn't a same day double closing. You're right. Why didn't I do it as a same day double closing? Very simply, this particular property was being swarmed by other investors, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Had we put it under contract, as he did, put it out wholesale to close on the same day, I would imagine that probably 5 to 10 other investors would have gone directly to the seller and said, look what Dave Student is selling this for. He's gypping you. He's taking advantage of you. As an interesting step back to look at this thing, the purchase price that my student got it at for $75,000 was more than the other crazy guys that were running around door knocking were offering him. They were offering him less money. I'll show you why in a moment or so coming up, that in their mind they thought we can get this thing for even less money. What happened? They didn't get it. So here's the other important thing. That's what he sold it for, $209,500. I'm going to show you something coming up which you'll find interesting. I talk about building a big buyers list. Sometimes those people that refer buyers are their wholesalers. And sometimes they want half the profit, they want 10,000, they want 50, whatever they want. If they find out what you purchased it for or have it under contract for, they're going to want more and more. But in this case, your buyers list doesn't have to be other wholesalers who bring buyers, and you're going to see one that is extraordinarily good. So here we have it. 15 days later, we closed it on the B2C side. Again, why? Because I didn't want black hat wholesalers going around my student, stealing the deal from him, or us having to file a notice of interest, a list penance against the seller to make him come to the closing table. So this is the bottom half of the B2C HUD, and this is where the action takes place. So the first thing that comes up is the end buyer put up a $6,000 earnest money deposit. That means that if the end buyer didn't close, we would collect $6,000 from him, or if we had to go to mediation, we'd get at least half of that. Whereas my student, how much did he have up as an earnest money deposit? 0, remember? So he would make money without ever having to go to closing. So there's my funding coming back. So this interest income that I got in my IRA is tax deferred, not tax free, tax deferred. Now I put the date in here again just so you can see this is not a same day double closing. However, it is a no money closing for my student investor. By the way, here's a clue, a 1031 exchange. In a 1031 exchange, remember I said to you in the HUD statement, the buyer's on the left. So my investor student now is on the right, and the buyer came to closing with a 1031 exchange check in effect. that he had to invest by a certain date. By the way, this property is a duplex. But the most important part about the bottom half of the B2C HUD is right here. My student put up no earnest money deposit, as you saw, so this is his net profit, $129,726.40. Net profit, no money in the transaction, so on and so forth. But I want to show you one other thing. This is the second page of the B2C HUD, the bottom half. Remember I said to you that you have a buyer's list and other wholesalers will bring you buyers and they charge you a fee for that. Okay, the first thing I want to do on this page, I want to give you the ultimate clue here as to why this property had so many investors swirling around it. That's taxes owed, $11,380.78. It was going to a tax deed sale. I talk to you all the time in my materials and my videos and my courses. The serious money in tax deed sales is not at the auction. It's pre-tax deed sales. Now I understand there's plenty of people selling courses on tax certificates and tax deeds, purchasing them at the auction, and on and on and on. They will show you examples. I bought this for $200. I sold it for $200,000. No. Yes, it may happen. Realistically, I like low-hanging fruit for students. I don't want them to go after something and in 1 in 10,000 times they missed it because that tax deed sale were in another county when they had to be in another county to do that tax deed sale. It's silly. Here's where the money is. This was a pre-tax deed sale. Oh yeah, there's the referral fee. Remember I said to you, it's sometimes called a JV fee. It can be called any number of things. There it is, $500. $500 intermediary fee. Gee whiz. So what does that mean? It means as you build your buyer's list, it doesn't have to be other wholesalers who are getting a giant JV fee out of your deal. This is kind of a frustrating video for me because I feel emotionally attached to both the non-student that came to me telling me he can't do it, but he's sure that he can't do it for his reasons, and it doesn't have to be. And what very oftentimes happens with new students is they don't know any better. They just do what we ask them to do. And they come out, if you watch some of my videos, and they say, I didn't believe it, but it works. So I'm going to close this very quickly. I am Dave Dinkle. I wish you limitless success in all that you do. And I have this question. Why not you?